What's going on, guys? Let's talk about glyphs and some of the problems in the game that we're currently seeing that we definitely need fixes for. All right, guys, so I wanted to make a video to kind of discuss the glyph problem we're seeing right now in the game. They added these, about a month ago or so, early December, or maybe it was like late November, and absolute game changer to the game, right? This is just a whole nother level of personalization and theory crafting and character builds and RNG to just kind of have fun with like rolling these glyphs and getting the god rolls, right? Like there's a lot of fun to them. And we can kind of do like a quick little touch of, just like the overall of the glyphs, but I'm not here to make a video on like what are the best glyphs for each of the characters. I mean, there's kind of just like a meta right now that's kind of plug and play fits all essentially. And we'll talk about that. But this video is just be more about like, how have they done so far 1 month in? And where do we need to see changes to fix some of the issues that are already kind of showing up early into the glyph system being added? So for starters, again, the UI, props to the team. I think as the game has progressed over the last 8 months, they've done some nice jobs with graphic updates, some quality of life changes in general, like one that I just kind of comes to mind, irrelevant to this UI, but just I think it came around the same patch as the UI was added, was like when you go to the store and you buy an item and it just flings you back to the top over and over, right? Like those things are just so frustrating, but they fixed those and that's great. And maybe the reason they had it there at one point was because like if you kept going to the top, maybe it just potentially pushed a customer to buy instead of only just getting all the ones at the bottom because you're at the top and you see like the gold ones or, the ones that like more like not free to play or not free to they cost gems, right? Depending on what store you're in, but you know what I'm saying. So looking at the UI changes though, like I think they did an amazing job. I was curious how it was going to look with the glyphs, if there's going to be like a secondary menu, but I just think it looks great. Like the color changes, the graphics, the UI with like the bottom of the screen here where you can like equip and promote. It's just fantastic. Like big props to the team on how they designed the UI. Like I just wanted to kind of call that out and give props where it's due, because I do think this is a really well done mobile screen and works even perfectly fine like on a computer BlueStacks emulator, right? But if we go into the glyphs, so when they came out and I looked at the list, we all know in any of these games speed manipulation is going to be busted, right? Like that's always a problem. And although I do think like the stats that they did go ahead and release into the game, so not your glyph specific perks that you're getting for having the sets on, so like armor piercer giving you 2% armor pen, or like bloodlust giving you 30% turn meter, the individual ones that you have to have the set to get that feature or that perk, but instead the actual stats that they give you based off what you roll on each of the individual glyphs, right? So like this glyph I have bloodlust on, you have your HP, right, and you're in your top spot always. It's like a static locked it's what you get. You get HP. Just like in slot 2, you always get damage, and in slot 3, you always get armor. Now in slot 4, 5, and 6, you can actually get other things. So you can roll and have to try and find that perfect one if you're looking for just damage or just health or just resistance or focus or whatever it might be, right? So those are different for slots 4, 5, and 6. They aren't locked like the first 3 are, where it's always going to be HP, damage, and armor every time. But your rolls here as you go through each of the glyphs are actually random RNG rolls of a multiple different options: speed, block chance, block mitigation, crit chance, crit damage, right? Like there's 10, 12 different ones. And in most of these games, especially for like damage dealers, you're going to be looking for your damage, your crit chance, your crit damage, right? Like the things that are going to do more damage. And then for your tanks, you're going to be generally looking for block mitigation, block chance, resistance, ways to not take as much damage so they can soak more and stay alive to keep your damage dealers dealing damage, right? Pretty simple concept. I think they did a great job with those stats. The percentages are working pretty well, where it's not like a speed meta, right? Not everybody is just going after speed, because speed is kind of important, but the way the game's designed and how little impact that they decided to kind of give those percentage points to that specific attribute ended up being really good for the game, I think. But the caveat to it, and the problem with the glyphs that we have right now in the game, is Bloodlust and Last Stand. That is the meta build, right? All Bloodlust or Bloodlust and Last Stand, depending on the character. And the reason is because, again, it doesn't necessarily impact a character's speed, but it impacts turn meter. And anytime you can manipulate the turn, which means you get to go more often, right? It's gonna be very strong. That's just the way these games work, right? If you can attack more than your opponent can attack, whether it be in PvE or PvP, that means you're doing more damage and taking less damage. And so when the glyphs came out, I already thought Bloodlust was going to be really strong, but I also thought Armor Piercer would be really strong. I also thought Lembas was going to be a good one because of the stamina gain, as well as Withering. I thought Withering was going to be a decent one too. And not to say that they're bad, but Bloodlust and Last Stand are like S tier, and it's a very big drop off to your next batch of glyphs right now in the game. And it's something that they're going to have to go back and probably do some tweaking, because it's not healthy for the game to have 10-12 glyphs here and 2 are viable, right? Like, you literally are just looking for Bloodlust and Last Stand on any of your characters, and it's stronger than any of the other sets that are currently in the game. And so that's an issue, and that's something that they're going to have to fix, because it's just not healthy to have glyphs that you only really have like 1 or 2 build options. Otherwise, you're at a disadvantage on anything else you try. And not to say that these other ones don't work. Like, I think Shield Wall or Vitality can be pretty good on tanks, because anytime you can take less damage as a tank, that's important. Vitality could be pretty good because regeneration's, you know, giving you some health. Like, some of these are cool. I think Lifesteal is absolute trash. Gaining 2% lifesteal, so 6% at most if you have a full set of lifesteal, is just not enough. Like, it's just 6% health, you know, recovery on like a basic attack that might do a couple thousand. I mean, you're barely getting like a few hundred extra HP, which is like completely meaningless. So that one is definitely one that I could see getting like a nice bump up. Bloodlust, though, I mean, the changes I'd like to see, probably for Bloodlust, the turn meter, I mean, at least a 10% nerf, if not more, right? Like 15% turn meter instead of, because 30% at a set bonus of 2, and you have 3 sets of this, means you get 90% turn meter, pretty much full turn meter. They could change it to a 4 set. That could be good, right? That'd be a big nerf. But they could change it to like set of 4 and then maybe like 50% or 40% turn meter, because then you couldn't have 3 sets. You could only have like the 1 4 set. So they could adjust it that way as well. And then again, Last Stand, the problem with this one is like you're getting that 100% turn meter plus dispelling 3 veins plus gaining stamina. Like, it's just a ton of wins here when you drop below 25% health. And although dropping to below 25% health means like you're getting close to dying, like if you just kind of have it the right build and you have the right abilities up for healers to come in and kind of get them back over that 25% health threshold, it's just really strong. And it's especially strong in PvE in the raids, because when you're fighting those waves in chapter 1 and chapter 3, I mean, this manipulation's nuts. Like, you can constantly get additional attacks going to increase your scores. So this is another one that they're probably gonna have to look at. I don't really know the best way to adjust this one. Maybe you don't get 100% turn meter, but then I think if you really like adjust it, it might just be too much of a turn meter depletion, right? I don't know. That's one that's not why I'm not a developer or a creator of you know, of these things, right? That's not my forte. But these two are by far the most broken in the game. So those would be that's something they got to look at. Like, we need these to be fixed, and we need them to be fixed sooner than later, so the other ones can kind of rise and be used and have a little bit more of a variant of these glyphs in the game, so people can try different things and not keep watching videos. I've been watching a couple of Glyph Glads over the last couple of days. Shout out to a couple of the content creators who've been making them. Been awesome, kind of doing very, very deep dives or like high level, just keep it simple sort of glyph guides. But to no one's surprise, Bloodlust, Last Stand, every time. You never can go wrong with those, right? And there's a lot more to them too, because again, those are just going to be your perk set kind of features. But if we dive like a little bit deeper into the glyphs themselves, like I think they did a nice job on the design of the game. Like, you know, if we look at one of these guys that I haven't upgraded, it like the way it works is great. I'm not gonna upgrade a Raider one. Let's look at Bloodlust. So like if we look at Bloodlust, you can see the way it works is you get a glyph, you can buy them in the store and they're 5-star, which is awesome because it saves you some gold, right? Because you don't have to invest the gold on this screen to get them to 5-star to reveal the stats. But you simply go in, you just hit the upgrade button. I generally reveal all for 5,300 just because I want to see all. It's not that much of a gold investment and you can quickly just reveal everything, right? And what's cool is you can immediately see how things panned out. And this roll is now static. Like these will be here until maybe sometime in the future. If there's ever like a reroll option, some kind of resources allows you to do rerolls, whether it be the actual stat like HP being rerolled for a different type of stat, or reroll the roll I got here, because you can see on the screen HP I got a 0.65% on this glyph, but my roll could have been 0.5 to 1, so I low rolled, right? But then you can see my damage, I can get up to 1.5 and I rolled a 1.43. So this is an extremely good damage roll. I would say this glyph actually in general is actually a pretty good just kind of showcasing roll here, because HP, damage, focus, and crit chance, like there's some good characters that kind of want those features, right? Like somebody who wants focus and also does damage, this is awesome. And HP is just always a plus to have on characters. So this isn't even a bad roll, but we rolled well on crit chance and damage and kind of shit the bed a little bit on focus and HP, right? So there could be a future feature where they add the ability to reroll a stat. So maybe I don't want focus, I wanted crit damage. That'd be cool to go ahead and like reroll that. And then also if I wanted focus, but focus is terribly rolled here, it's almost as low as it can be at 0.56. Maybe there's a way that I can reroll that one, right? And able to get like closer to that max roll of 1%. So those would be like cool things they add. But of course, then you have like your resources that you need to do like additional rolls. So 5 is just gold, but then past 5, you start using some of these other resources in the game that you can, you know, the enchantments, which you can only get from the raid. So I'm getting a little bit low because I've been doing some adjustments on my characters today. But just to kind of showcase it in here again, like the way it would more or less work is if I wanted to roll this one again, it would upgrade, and it's going to upgrade the main stat here. So now it's a level 6 glyph. And if I want to roll it again, what's going to happen is it's going to roll one of these 4 stats and give another bar. And again, it could be anywhere from that 0.5 to 1 or 0.75 to 1.5. So it's completely random. So I'll click it and then we'll see what happens if I get, like in this case, imagine like a damage that's almost a maxed out damage again. Like that'd be amazing, but we'll see what we get. So we got a focus with a very good roll. So it kind of makes up for the bad roll, but you know what I mean? Like this is where you're going to spend tons and tons of min-maxing on your character. But this is why this system in the game is amazing, because it adds that theory crafting and much bigger layer of character design, like just things that you can do and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here for filtering to sell. You literally have to click one at a time. So that's fun, right? You literally have to go one by one, and I've got 424 glyphs. So I would be here for hours potentially going, maybe not hours, but you know, a long time just manually going through each one of these and deleting them. And then to delete them, I mean, the ones I haven't revealed, I could just get rid of if I really didn't care about that set. But if you were trying to get rid of ones that just had really bad rolls, or ones that didn't have 2 or 3 of specific substats, so like I only want crit damage, crit chance, damage, plus whatever else on Armor Piercer, anything else is junk, I can't check that. I have to go and look individually, one by one. There's no way to check that. So they got some opportunity there too for some quality of life features with the glyphs. But anyways, I wanted to make a video to kind of discuss my thoughts on the glyphs that have been added to the game. I know it's only been out for like a month, so I'm glad that they got it out before they went on holiday, so we got a chance to test it. But certainly some tuning to do and some additional quality of life features to add to the glyphs themselves to make them a little bit more user friendly. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think that the glyphs, if I'm wrong, if you guys think that Bloodlust is totally fine, or if you think there's another glyph that's way more broken than Bloodlust, or if you had good experiences with other sets that maybe a lot of people haven't really dove into or tried. But in my opinion, like those two definitely are ones that SeeJay's gonna have to go back and look at. But appreciate everything. Don't forget to like the video and comment. I'll see you guys in the next one.